What happens when a top Hollywood star, adored by millions, encounters her match in one of television's most unpredictable discussion program presenters? Right now, we are looking closely at the shocking argument that dominated all discussions when the actress Julia Roberts appeared with The View hosts and everything suddenly spiraled out of control. This long account is about how the panelist Joy Behar provoked the beloved American star too intensely, causing one of the most dramatic, unplanned departures in the recorded past of daytime television. Be sure to subscribe and share your opinions in the comment section below, because this event will likely leave you speechless. The studio lights were incredibly bright as Julia Roberts walked out onto the set of The View. Her instantly recognizable smile brightened the whole area as the attending audience burst into loud clapping. She looked fantastic in a long, flowing green dress that matched her famous auburn hair perfectly. She waved graciously as she took her designated seat beside the group of hosts. Whoopi Goldberg greeted her with genuine warmth, as did Sarah Haynes and Sunny Hostin. However, Joy Behar's manner this particular morning was distinctly different. While the other hosts seemed truly happy to have Julia on their program, Joy leaned back in her chair with a small, knowing grin. Her eyes sparkled with what could only be described as a hint of mischief and sharp intent. "Julia, welcome back to The View," Whoopi began, her voice exceptionally welcoming and friendly. "It is always a genuine pleasure to have you sitting here with us." "Thank you so much for bringing me on," Julia responded, her words carrying that specific, contagious laugh that had enchanted viewers for many decades. "I truly enjoy being here with all of you. The general feeling and energy here is consistently so wonderful." The initial discussion began in a very pleasant manner, with Sarah asking simple questions about Julia's most recent movie production and Sunny asking for updates about her family life. Julia addressed every question with her usual elegance and funny responses, sharing personal stories that made the audience laugh and the other hosts nod their heads in approval. But Joy remained suspiciously silent, observing Julia with a focused intensity that felt almost aggressive. "You know, Julia," Joy finally cut in, abruptly stopping Sarah in the middle of her question. "I have been following your professional career for a long period, and I feel I must ask, do you never become tired of continually playing the same exact type of person?" The question hung very heavily in the air like a looming, dark storm cloud, and the entire studio audience fell into a deep silence. Julia's smile wavered for a split second before she swiftly recovered, releasing a slight, nervous laugh. "I am not entirely sure I understand what you are suggesting, Joy," Julia answered carefully and with great diplomacy. "I have made an effort to take on a diverse collection of different roles throughout my working life." "Oh, come on, really?" Joy insisted, leaning aggressively forward in her chair with a wide smile that did not manage to reach her eyes. The pretty woman, the key romantic character, the relatable girl next door with that massive grin. It's essentially the same underlying concept, just a different film. Don't you think the paying audience members deserve something more diverse from someone who possesses your supposed level of talent? Whoopi shifted around uneasily in her chair, clearly sensing the growing tension and friction. "Joy, I believe Julia has demonstrated an astonishing range across her long list of films." She attempted to interject, but Joy was far from finished with her interrogation. "I mean, let's be completely truthful here. You have constructed a hugely successful career based on being America's favorite sweetheart. But what will occur when America gets bored of sweetness? What happens when they demand something that is actually real and authentic?" Julia's body posture instantly stiffened, and for the first time since she had sat down, her famous, wide smile vanished completely. "I believe that my professional work stands as its own proof, Joy. I have consistently aimed to bring genuine truthfulness to every role I undertake." "Truthfulness?" Joy scoffed, letting out a sharp, cutting sound of laughter. "Is that really the term we are using for it? Because from my standpoint, it appears much more like you have been performing the identical version of yourself for 3 entire decades." The other hosts exchanged worried looks, as the mood in the television studio became more and more strained and tense. Sunny tried to redirect the dialogue back toward a safer topic. "Julia, please tell us all about your forthcoming professional projects. I know you have several exciting things currently in production." But Joy was determined not to allow the topic to change. "Actually, let us discuss something else entirely," she declared, her voice adopting a far more aggressive and challenging tone. "Let us talk about advantage. Let's talk about how incredibly effortless it must be to maintain a completely flawless public image when you have never been required to face any truly serious hardship." Julia's eyes suddenly showed a flash of genuine anger. "Excuse me, you heard me perfectly," Joy continued, seemingly encouraged and emboldened by Julia's visible reaction. "You have experienced an exceptionally lucky and privileged existence, Julia. You were born naturally attractive, found early in life, and were handed success on a silver platter without effort. What exactly do you truly know about hardship? What do you actually comprehend about the real world that the remainder of us must navigate daily?" The audience was now completely silent, realizing they were witnessing a truly unprecedented moment of live television. Julia took a slow, deep breath, visibly striving to retain her composure. "Joy, I think you are making several very unfair assumptions regarding my life," Julia stated, her voice steady but carrying an obvious underlying annoyance. "You possess absolutely no knowledge about the path I've taken or the difficulties I have confronted." "Don't I?" Joy retorted sharply. Because from the place where I am sitting, your most significant difficulty has been deciding which massive residence to settle in. Whoopi finally intervened much more forcefully. Alright Joy, I genuinely think we need to. No, Whoopi, Joy sharply interrupted. I think the time has come for someone to pose the difficult questions. I think the time has come for someone to expose this entire flawless princess act for what it fundamentally is, a deliberately constructed fabrication. Julia's face had lost all color, but her voice remained carefully controlled. I have never claimed or pretended to be perfect, Joy. I have been entirely open about any mistakes I've made in my development as a human being. Have you, though? Joy countered. Or have you simply provided the public with the sanitized version of your life that your public relations team officially approved? When was the last occasion you displayed the authentic Julia Roberts, not merely the commercially manufactured product? The strain in the room was now intensely noticeable. Camera operators carefully repositioned their equipment, sensing they might be recording a landmark event in television history. The other co-host sat completely motionless, unsure how they could possibly intervene in what was quickly becoming a focused personal attack disguised as a public interview. I believe there has been a considerable misunderstanding, Julia expressed, her voice starting to reveal signs of the intense pressure and strain. I came here today specifically to discuss my professional work and engage with your viewers, not to be personally attacked. Joy sat back in her chair with a clear look of satisfaction, obviously enjoying the discomfort she was causing. Oh, so is that what we are calling this, an attack? I genuinely thought this was simply an honest conversation. Isn't that what these interview shows are supposed to be about? Honesty. There exists a clear distinction between honesty and malice. Joy, Julia shot back, her carefully maintained composure finally beginning to shatter. There is a significant difference between asking difficult questions and actively attempting to intentionally hurt another person. Hurt someone, Joy laughed again. That same abrasive, grating sound that was quickly irritating everyone present. Darling, if a few simple, honest observations harm your feelings, maybe you are not as mentally strong as you try to appear. The words hung in the air like a physical blow, and Julia's face flushed bright red. For a brief instant, the whole studio seemed to hold its collective breath, anticipating how the beloved American star would react to such a direct and pointed insult. Strong, Julia slowly repeated the word, her voice dropping to a dangerously low, quiet volume. You wish to talk about strength, Joy. Allow me to explain to you what strength truly is. Strength is having to remain seated here and listen to you relentlessly criticize and tear me down for no logical reason other than your own personal amusement. Strength is making the conscious choice not to respond to your hostility with similar hostility of my own. Joy's eyes sparkled with visible, malicious pleasure. Oh, now we are finally making some progress. There is the intensity I knew was hidden underneath all that contrived niceness and innocence. Tell me, Julia, how exactly does it feel to finally drop the performance? This is not a performance, Julia replied, her voice increasing slightly in volume. This is me making an effort to retain some sense of self-respect in the face of your completely unwarranted hostility. Unwarranted, Joy scoffed dismissively. Everything I have spoken about tonight is considered fair game. You are a well-known public person, sweetheart. You willingly put yourself into the public eye. That means you open yourself up entirely to scrutiny and critique. Sarah Haynes looked like she desperately wanted to hide beneath the table. Perhaps we should take a short commercial break, she suggested with a notably weak tone. No breaks, Joy aggressively declared, waving her hand in a dismissive gesture. We are only just beginning. Julia, let us discuss your marital history. 3 marriages, was it? That is hardly the idealized fairy tale image that you enjoy portraying, is it? The audience audibly gasped, and Whoopi's face displayed pure shock. Joy, that is completely unsuitable and uncalled for, Whoopi stated firmly. Is it though? Joy challenged. She discusses romantic love and personal relationships in virtually every interview she grants. She produces films about discovering your true soulmate, but her own past relationship record suggests a very different reality, doesn't it? Julia's hands were now visibly trembling. It was unclear if the shaking was due to intense rage or deep emotional pain. My personal relationships are exactly what the name implies, personal. They have absolutely no relevance to why I am here today. But they have everything to do with the type of person you are, Joy relentlessly insisted. They vividly illustrate the significant gap between the carefully maintained image and the actual reality. They demonstrate that perhaps, just perhaps, you are not the relationship expert you pretend to be in all those romantic comedies. I have never once pretended to be an expert on any subject, Julia stated through clenched teeth. I am simply an actress. I embody different characters. That is the fundamental nature of my career. Joy let out that grating harsh laugh once more. Exactly, you portray different characters, but the fundamental problem is that you never actually stop portraying them, do you? Even right now, even here on this show, you are still actively performing. When will we be permitted to meet the true Julia Roberts? You want something genuine? Julia's voice was now trembling with intense, barely contained emotion. You want to witness something real. This is real, Joy, this deep emotional pain you are causing. This profound feeling of shame you are inflicting upon me in front of many millions of people. This is unquestionably real. Good, Joy said with a clear expression of satisfaction. Finally, some truthfulness. Finally, some honest feeling instead of that manufactured pleasantness you normally deliver to the public. Sunny Hostin looked absolutely horrified. Joy, I genuinely do not understand what you are hoping to achieve with this. Julia is our invited guest who has been deliberately misrepresenting herself to the public for many decades. Joy shot back instantly. Our invited guest who has built a hugely successful career on a basis of falseness. False. Julia's voice cracked severely on the word. You genuinely think I am fake? You truly believe that everything I have worked so hard for, everything I have accomplished is completely false? I think you are merely a product, Joy coldly stated. I think you are a meticulously constructed brand, carefully designed to sell movie tickets and glossy magazine covers. I believe the genuine Julia Roberts, whoever that person may be, was abandoned and lost a long time ago. The underlying malice in Joy's voice was now absolutely undeniable, and even the camera operators appeared uncomfortable with the atmosphere. Julia stared at her intensely for a long, painful moment, tears starting to well up in her eyes. You know what, Joy? Julia spoke quietly. You are correct about one specific point. There is an authentic Julia Roberts beneath all of this public exterior, and that real, genuine person is strongly suggesting that I do not need to sit here and simply endure this intentional abuse. Abuse? Joy scoffed mockingly. Asking difficult questions is now categorized as abuse. No, Julia replied, standing up straight from her seat. But deliberately trying to make another human being feel ashamed, deliberately attempting to make them feel insignificant and completely worthless, that is abuse, and I simply will not tolerate it. Not coming from you, and not coming from anyone else. Joy's expression shifted slightly, as if she was only just starting to grasp the possibility that she might have gone significantly too far. Oh, come on, Julia. Do not be so dramatic. Please sit back down. We are simply having an extensive conversation. This is not a conversation, Julia stated firmly. This is a deliberate and malicious character assassination. This is you taking advantage of your substantial platform to publicly bully someone, and I completely refuse to participate in it any longer. The other hosts looked genuinely panicked. Whoopi stood up quickly as well, attempting to rescue the rapidly deteriorating situation. Julia, please do not depart. We can absolutely work through this. No, Whoopi, Julia interrupted softly but very firmly. Some things simply cannot be repaired with polite apologies or rushed explanations. Some behaviors are simply and profoundly wrong. Joy, perhaps sensing she was losing total control of the entire situation, attempted a slightly different approach. Look, Julia, if I have genuinely hurt your personal feelings, please know that was never my initial intention. I was only trying to encourage an honest and forthright discussion. Julia immediately turned to face her directly, and the palpable pain in her eyes was obvious to every single person in the studio. Your intention, Joy. Everything about this entire segment has been absolutely intentional. Every specific question, every single insult, every attempt to make me appear foolish or fake or whatever absurd label you currently think applies to me. You entered this conversation with a specific goal, and that goal was simply to tear me down completely. That is not at all true. Joy protested, but her voice completely lacked any genuine conviction. Isn't it? Julia challenged. Then please explain to me logically why every single thing you have directed at me has been meticulously designed to inflict pain. Explain to me why you have completely ignored every attempt the other hosts have made to direct this discussion onto a more positive and constructive path. Explain to me why you appear to be enjoying my discomfort so visibly and intensely. Joy fell completely silent for a brief moment, and for the first time since the interview began, she looked noticeably uncertain and shaken. The studio audience remained utterly quiet, riveted by every single word of this extraordinary public confrontation. I am a journalist, Joy finally managed to say weakly. It is my professional duty to ask challenging questions. No, Julia countered with quiet intensity. You are not acting as a journalist right now, Joy. You are acting as a bully, and I have spent too many years of my life dealing with people like you to sit here and allow you to continue this. The single word, bully, seemed to strike Joy like a physical blow. Her face instantly flushed deep red, and for the first time since the interview started, she looked genuinely rattled and unnerved. The entire studio remained in a state of deathly silence as the two prominent women stared intensely at each other across the large table. The tension was so incredibly thick, it felt almost suffocating. I am not a bully, Joy argued loudly, her voice becoming defensive and angry. I have been doing this job successfully for many, many years, and I have never before been labeled a bully. Then perhaps the time has come someone to speak the truth to you, Julia replied, her voice remaining steady despite the tears that were still threatening to fall freely. Perhaps the time has come for someone to point out clearly that there is a definite difference between being provocative and simply being actively cruel. Joy's jaw immediately tightened. You want to talk about cruelty? Let's talk about how cruel it is to purposely lie to millions of viewers. Let's talk about how cruel it is to present yourself publicly as something that you absolutely are not. And what precisely am I supposedly pretending to be? Julia urgently demanded. What terrible lie am I supposedly spreading by simply trying to bring a little bit of happiness and joy to people through the work that I do? You are pretending to be flawless? Joy shot back instantly. You are pretending to have every single answer, to be this shining symbol of hope and perfect happiness, when real everyday people are seriously struggling with extremely complex, real-life problems. Julia shook her head slowly in clear disbelief. I have never once claimed to be flawless. I have never once claimed to possess all the answers to life. All I have ever genuinely tried to accomplish is my professional job, which is to effectively entertain people and maybe, just maybe, make them smile for a short couple of hours. But that is the core of the problem, Joy insisted, seeming unable to stop her relentless attacks now. You make it appear so incredibly effortless. You make it seem like happiness is merely an easy personal choice, like professional success is only about having a nice smile and a bright, positive attitude. And that fact bothers you? Julia asked, with a tone of genuine confusion in her voice. The fact that I consciously try to remain a positive force bothers you. It bothers me significantly because it is not real life. Joy vehemently burst out. Life is not some romantic comedy film, Julia. Life is exceptionally difficult and extremely messy and often deeply disappointing. And when you constantly walk around deliberately pretending otherwise, you are doing a massive disservice to every single person who is currently struggling. The remaining hosts sat absolutely motionless, watching this intensely personal and raw confrontation unfold before them. Whoopi looked visibly exhausted, trying desperately to figure out how to conclude the segment without making the situation even worse. Sarah and Sunny appeared genuinely disturbed by the emotional spectacle they were forced to witness. Julia was quiet for a long, reflective moment, and when she finally spoke again, her voice was soft but imbued with a powerful, calm resolve that had not been present before. You know what, Joy? You are correct about one specific thing. Life is profoundly hard. Life is messy. Life is completely full of disappointment and deep pain and severe heartbreak. But you know what else life is as well? Julia continued, her voice growing steadily stronger. Life is also unbelievably beautiful. Life is completely full of moments of pure, unadulterated joy and incredible love and genuine wonder. And if my professional work, if my so-called fake positivity, manages to help even a single person remember that truth, then I am profoundly proud of what I choose to do. That is simply being naive, Joy muttered sharply, but her voice sounded noticeably less certain now. No, Julia stated firmly. What is truly naive is believing that intentionally tearing other people down somehow makes you a more authentic person. What is naive is clinging to the belief that sheer cynicism is somehow inherently more honest than genuine hope. Joy's face was rapidly becoming even redder by the minute. Don't you dare attempt to lecture me about authenticity. Don't you dare stand there and act like you are somehow superior to me. I am not acting like I am superior to anyone, Julia replied, beginning to manually unhook her small microphone. But I am making a conscious choice not to be a participant in whatever this abusive display is anymore. What this is, Joy said venomously, is reality. This is what occurs when someone finally has the courage to expose your deliberate act. Julia paused briefly while removing her microphone and looked directly at Joy. You genuinely want to know what reality truly is, Joy? Reality is the fact that you have just wasted the last 20 minutes trying to actively destroy another human being for no logical reason other than your own perverse, personal satisfaction. Reality is the fact that you have utilized your influential platform not to inform or entertain or inspire, but specifically to inflict pain. I was simply doing my professional job, Joy insisted weakly, but her voice was starting to crack under the pressure. Your job description is to interview your invited guests, not to maliciously attack them, Julia asserted. Your job is to produce interesting, engaging television, not to completely humiliate people who were kind enough to accept your invitation to appear on your show. Whoopi finally regained her full voice. Julia, please, let's all just try to take a step back and breathe here. Perhaps we can. No, Whoopi, Julia interrupted gently but with unwavering firmness. Some things are truly irreparable. Some forms of behavior simply cannot be excused. I came here today acting in good faith, expecting to engage in a pleasant discussion about my work and my personal life. Instead, I was completely ambushed by someone who seems to derive deep pleasure from the suffering of others. Joy abruptly stood up, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. You know what? Fine. Go ahead and leave. Run away. That is exactly what people like you always do when things become slightly uncomfortable, isn't it? Julia turned back to face Joy one final time, and her expression held something profoundly sad. No, Joy. People like me actively choose not to engage with gratuitous cruelty. People like me actively choose not to reward bad, hateful behavior with our continued presence. Bad behavior, Joy was practically shouting now. I was asking entirely legitimate questions about a public figure who makes many millions of dollars by deliberately pretending to be America's sweetheart. And there it is, Julia said quietly. You just said the revealing word yourself. You genuinely believe that I am pretending. You honestly think that every single aspect of me is merely a performance. And maybe, just maybe, that observation says far more about you than it could ever say about me. Joy's mouth opened and closed repeatedly as if she was desperately trying to find the appropriate words that simply would not come to her. The studio audience remained utterly silent, completely mesmerized by this unprecedented, raw display of intense emotion and high-stakes conflict. Julia began to walk purposefully toward the perimeter of the set, her microphone now completely disconnected and removed. For whatever significance it holds, Joy, I genuinely hope that someday you manage to figure out the real reason why you felt the urgent need to do this today. I hope you figure out what you were truly trying to achieve. Don't you dare walk away from me." Joy loudly yelled after her. "We are certainly not finished here." Julia paused briefly at the edge of the set and turned back one last time. "Yes, we are," she stated simply. "We are completely and very much finished." And with that definitive final statement, Julia Roberts walked off the set of The View, leaving behind a thoroughly stunned studio audience, a panel of shell-shocked co-hosts and one extremely angry Joy Behar, who was still standing at the table, breathing heavily and looking like she could not entirely process what had just occurred. The cameras continued to record as Joy slowly sank back down into her chair, the profound reality of the situation finally beginning to fully sink in. She had severely provoked one of Hollywood's most significant stars past her breaking point, and now, she was entirely left to face the inevitable consequences of her reckless actions in front of countless millions of television viewers. Whoopi carefully cleared her throat and looked directly into the camera lens. "We will be returning shortly following this brief commercial break," she stated. But her voice noticeably lacked its typical confidence and warmth. The severe damage had been undeniably inflicted, and every single person present in that studio knew they had just witnessed an event that would be widely discussed and debated for many years to come. As the show faded out into the commercial break, the audience remained in their seats, intensely buzzing with excitement and disbelief about the extraordinary event they had just seen. They had arrived expecting a routine celebrity interview segment, but instead, they had been witness to one of the most publicly dramatic confrontations in the history of daytime television programming. What are your personal thoughts regarding this incredible, sudden showdown? Do you personally believe that Joy Behar completely crossed the ethical line, or was she simply performing her supposed professional duty as an interviewer? Please share all your considered opinions and thoughts in the comments section below, and remember to subscribe for even more explosive celebrity moments that you will not be able to find anywhere else on television.